Assalamualaikum and hi. I am JULITA binti HAIRONI and my matric card number is AA200719. In this video, my friend and I, which is in Group 2, Section 5, will be explaining about the plaster of Mohd Paris. Therefore, there are three objectives that we need to accomplish in this experiment, which are: the first is to learn about plaster mold casting. Secondly, to determine the volume needed for the plaster mixture and to produce a mold from plaster of Paris. Then, I will continue this video by introducing about the plaster of Mohd Paris briefly. Plaster mold casting is a metalworking casting process similar to sand casting, except the molding material is plaster of Paris instead of sand. Plaster mold casting is used when an excellent surface finish and good dimensional accuracy is required. Plaster mold casting allows for the fabrication of more complicated parts. Like sand casting, plaster mold casting is an expandable mold process. However, it can only be used with non-ferrous materials. Plaster mold casting is often used to make lock components, gears, valves, ornaments, fittings, and toolings. It is also used for prototype and short-run production of aluminium and zinc parts. Plaster casting fabricates product with a very smooth surface finish, allows for the casting of complex shapes with thin walls, can form large parts with less expense than other processes, such as investment casting, and has a higher degree of dimensional accuracy than that of sand casting. This process tends to be more expensive than most sand casting operation, and the molds are less durable and may require frequent replacement material. However, the process is usually more effective and cost efficient when the quality of the surface finish is a necessary requirement.
Then, the equipment and tools that used in this experiment is plaster of Paris, weighing machine, sprue, pattern, water and ruler.
Apart from that, I will explain the procedure to prepare the plaster of Paris mold. Firstly, we need to determine the weight of the ingredients needed for the plaster mixture by measuring the volume of the pattern container. From that, we can determine the weight of the water needed as well as the ratio of water and plaster of Paris, which is a ratio of 1/10 of 4. Next, we need to prepare the mold on drag part by mixing both of ingredients and pour the mixture into the container of pattern and then stir the mixture by using hand. We need to allow the plaster to solidify for about 30 minutes before removing the mold from the pattern container. Besides, we also need to prepare the mold for the cold part. So, we need to repeat the same procedure of preparing the mold for the drag part, but we need to put the sprue to create the channel for the mold and take out the part after it solidifies. Then, the mold is then baked between 120 and 260 degrees Celsius to remove any excess water. Once the mold is dry, it is assembled, preheated, and the molten metal is poured into it. Finally, after the metal hardens, the plaster is broken from the cast part, then clean, green, heat treating, and blast the mold to finish the process. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is NATHASYAH HAMDAN, the matric AA200881. For the process, step 1, calculate the weight of the plaster mixture ingredient. Water and plaster of Paris are mixed in a 1/1.4 ratio. Step 2, prepare the mold on the drag part. Mix the two ingredients together. Allow 30 minutes for the plaster to harden. Take the mold out of the pattern container. Step 3, prepare the mold for the cold part. Repeat the mold preparation procedure for the drag part. Place the sprue in the mold channel. After the part has solidified, remove it. Step 4, pour the metal. To remove any excess water, the mold is baked at 120 degrees Celsius to 260 degrees Celsius. The mold is assembled, preheat, and molten metal is poured into it once it has dried. Step 5, breakout. Finally, the plaster is broken from the cast part after the metal has hardened. Step 6, parts cleaning. Cleaning, grinding, heat treating and blasting are all common finishing process. For observation, a thin layer of parting compound is sprayed on the pattern to prevent the plaster from sticking to it. Then, the plaster was poured over the pattern and the unit was shaken to ensure that any small features were plastered. After 15 minutes, remove the pattern. Bake the mold between 120 degrees to 260 degrees Celsius, then pour into a preheat dry mold. After the metal has solidified, the plaster is broken from the cast part. You can recycle discarded plaster by grinding it. Next, a predetermined amount of water should be added. We might have to start over if there is too much water in the mix.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohamad Zulfakar bin Mohamad Rizal. My number matrix is AA200477. So I will present to you guys about a discussion. So first, why does the plaster of Paris harden on mixing with water? So basically, we know the plaster of Paris is made of gypsum. So gypsum will dry after being heat to 150 degrees Celsius. So when we mix the powder, the gypsum powder with water, it will turn into paste, and then it will solidify into a solid because the hydrogen bond in the water molecule hold the powder together when it is combined with water. So next, number 2 is we need to explain the difference between plaster of Paris and with sand casting. So first, we can see that the plaster of Paris we cannot use again after we done the workshop, and sand casting we can use many times because plaster of Paris will be hardened after a while, and sand casting is not going to harden the sand. So that's why the sand casting are used to pour the molten metal, because we want the product to keep in shape. So other than that, the difference is from the ingredients. So basically for sand casting, we use sand and or silica, and then while Paris or plaster are use gypsum. So other than that, sand casting can use for ferrous and non-ferrous metal, while plaster of Paris only can use for non-ferrous metal. So next, we need to explain the difference between plaster of Paris with investment casting. So plaster of Paris cannot withstand the high heat, while the investment casting can withstand a high heat. So that's why investment plaster can use to cast metal. In other words, investment plaster will be the mold into which the metal will be poured, molten metal. And then the investment plaster can be reused when the metal has been cast. So the plaster of Paris are used for rubber mold or for the finishing metal. So for the last discussion, we need to highlight the defect that we can find in our product, and we need to describe what caused and how to prevent it. So first is blistering of plaster surface. So this is caused because uneven mixture of plaster. So how we prevent it? We need to appropriate mixing between cement and its composite used to form plaster. So next, crack on plaster surface. So this is because the hollowness in plaster, or maybe a poor workmanship. So to prevent it, we need to proper curing of the plaster to slow down the rapid drying. And last is loose plaster. So this is because improper mixture and indicate curing, and this can be prevent use proper mixture and indicate curing. So for the conclusion is after we do this workshop, we learn about the plaster of Paris. We can also determine the volume that we needed to achieve a good plaster mixture to use. Other than that, we can also produce the plaster mold for this workshop. So the problem that we face to complete this workshop is we have is the mistake to do a mixture. This is because from our error to determine the volume. Other than that, the product is not perfect because the time given. So we also have faced the problem to keep the product not perfect because the time given. We hope we can attend this workshop again because we want to improve our skill in our future. So we also hope we have more time to complete the workshop, or maybe we have time to attend the workshop again for us to get almost perfect product or to gain a lot of skill. That's all from our team. Thank you.